The Spider-Verse is famous in the Marvel multiverse for the diverse spider people it has introduced. One of the more famous ones is Miles Morales, who has even had his own comic series. Miles Morales is an African-American college kid who gets bitten by a genetically modified spider, giving him his superpowers. After some convincing by Peter Parker, the original Spider-Man, Miles finally agreed to embrace his powers. He has fought many threats in New York City before, but one threat was Miles himself. Yes, we will delve into the evil versions of Miles Morales, aka Salim, exploring where he came from and what happened when the good and evil Miles came face to face. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who really is the evil version of Miles Morales? So, in the Miles Morales Spider-Man comics, Miles was captured and experimented upon by an evil AI named the Assessor. We later find out that the Assessor used the data to create several clones of Miles. Miles was seen fighting gooey clones of himself during his conflict with the Ultimatum. During his fight, Miles discovered that his clones couldn't last long and deteriorated after a few hours. The battle ended with Miles' uncle Aaron, aka the Prowler, destroying the Ultimatum, trying to seal the multidimensional gateway. But that was not where the clones stopped. The Assessor began to perfect the clones and ultimately had 3 near-perfection clones of Miles named Salim, Mind Spinner, and Shift. Miles' encounter with the 3 clones, especially with the evil Miles Morales, Salim, occurred in Miles Morales' Spider-Man, the Clone Saga. Miles finds out that someone has been running around posing as Spider-Man in a similar-looking red and black suit. The fake Spider-Man kidnaps a scientist, breaks into a supply warehouse, and commits a car theft while the real one takes the fall for it. Miles and his friend Genki figure out that this could somehow be related to the clones that the Assessor had made. With the help of Peter Parker, Miles picks up the trail of the clones. The Spider-Man encounter one of the clones who can shapeshift, but manage to bind him with their multiple spider webs. The clone escapes after releasing a potent gas that affects Peter more than Miles due to his age. Miles continues following the clone and reaches a terrace where a hard punch comes flying at his face. This is the first time we actually see Salim and the other clones. Now, among these 3, Mind Spinner had psionic abilities that he used to hurt people. He also had additional limbs like that of a spider. Shift was the most unstable, changing his gooey form to produce extra limbs, enlarge himself, or modify his body as per the situation. Salim was the most stable and looked identical to Miles Morales. He also claims to possess augmented powers compared to those of Miles. Salim thinks of himself as the leader of the 3 for his superior abilities and has the arrogance that goes with it. He even says that his name Salim means undamaged in Arabic. Salim seems like a culmination of all Miles' evil thoughts if he ever had any. The clones beat down Miles, and Peter comes to his rescue, but the Mind Spinner uses his psionic powers to hurt them until they are unconscious. The clones then head to their hideout. Miles takes Genki's help to find where the clones are hiding. Miles reaches the facility to realize the clones are developing some kind of serum. Assuming it was to create more clones, Miles unwittingly destroys the lab irking the clones. They tie Miles up in a string of webs and tell him that the serum was, in fact, a cure that helped them stabilize. Salim also reveals how the Assessor bred them in a lab as babies, but kept accelerating their growth. At 6, they were training for combat while the Assessor tested their strength, speed, agility, combat skills, and powers. Salim says that they lived through being 12 years old within a week, as the Assessor fast-forwarded their age, which was excruciating for them. When the 3 were able enough, they escaped the Assessor's lab and built their own lab to brew a potion that helped them survive. Miles destroying the lab meant that the clones didn't have much time left. Later, Salim kidnaps Miles' baby sister Billy and calls Miles to prove his worth on the Brooklyn Bridge. Salim knows that he has only a few weeks or hours left, but wants to find out if he is genuinely the pure one and more powerful than Miles. They are locked in a brutal battle with each other, but Miles brings down Salim using his webs and bioelectric shocks. That's when Mind Spinner joins the fight and takes Miles down. Miles is scared for his sister, but just as Salim is about to drop the baby down, Shift rescues her. Shift, being the reasonable one among the 3, sees through the evil inside Salim and changes sides. Salim then launches an attack at Shift, but this time, the Mind Spinner stops him. Outraged by the betrayal of his brothers, Salim launches a venom blast, taking the Mind Spinner with him, and they both are presumed dead as the flash from the explosion fills the Brooklyn Bridge skyline. However, Shift remains with Miles, who helps him survive. Miles' next encounter with Salim occurred when he decided to look for his uncle Aaron, whom he believed was alive in an alternate reality. Together, Miles and Shift travel across the verses to find him when they reach a future New York City under the control of Great Evil. This NYC is the aftermath of Miles' confrontation with Salim at the Brooklyn Bridge. Only in this verse, Salim killed Miles and emerged as the emperor of the city. Yes, Salim built himself an entire empire and had an army of Imperial soldiers equipped with AI and robotic-supported weapons and armor. But the most exciting part of the empire is that Salim used the red spider as his symbol and calls Brooklyn the Empire of the Spider. Members of Salim's army confront Miles and Shift, but they fight them only for the rebellion group of freedom fighters to capture them. Guess who is the captain of this rebellious group? It is Miles's baby sister Billy. Billy was raised by Genki after Salim took down Miles's entire family in this verse. Unaware that Miles is her brother, Billy takes Miles and Shift to meet their general. As it turns out, the general is Genki, Miles's best buddy from college. Genki, who is now considerably aged, instantly recognizes and understands that this Miles is from another reality and embraces him. He then tells Miles and Shift how Salim had conquered Brooklyn and locked it in some sort of interdimensional demiplane. He further reveals that although many years had passed since Salim's takeover, he had not aged a single day. Genki's team concludes that Salim is in possession of technology that offers him eternal youth. The rebels find out about the location of this remote machine and decide to attack it with the help of Miles and Shift. In a shocking revelation, we find out that Salim's machine was actually a human being. Can you guess who? It was Peter Parker. Salim captivated the original Spider-Man from this verse and used his blood and marrow to keep himself young. Each time Peter was drained, it made him get older and older while Salim remained a 19-year-old. Peter then unveils that there is another living battery, much like himself, that Salim was using to power the dimensional barrier around Brooklyn. Miles, Shift, and the rebels reach the spot where the prisoner is hidden, and as you might have guessed, find a chained-up Uncle Aaron. Salim had found the Prowler lost in the multidimensional and decided to harness his powers to fuel his interdimensional barrier. The rebels rescue Uncle Aaron and destroy Salim's underground facility. Now, all this occurred when Salim was out of his palace during a survey of his empire and hence missing in action. We see Salim's new look when his commander meets him to relay the news of the attack. Salim is dressed in a sleek black and red suit with a red cape, giving him a sizable look. He also has a webbed scar around his right eye, adding to his intimidating look. He is outraged by the news of Aaron's escape, but relaxes as he is informed that they have located the rebel base camp. With his evil intact, Salim gathers his troops for the climactic attack. Salim was never afraid of going all the way bad since his introduction in the Marvelverse. He had previously threatened to harm Miles' mother, attacked his father, and kidnapped Billy. When Shift decided to support Miles, Salim was ready to kill him too. So, in this war, Salim was prepared to do what it took to win. So, will Miles be able to defeat him this time? What do you think? Can the evil Miles Morales be defeated? Let's look at what happened when Salim attacked the rebel camp. Billy spotted Salim's attack ships and immediately warned the others to brace themselves. With a menacing look in his eyes, Salim leaps out of his ship, ready for a ground battle, while his troops continue the air raid. He calls out to the rebels to come and fight him. When Miles heeds the call, Salim taunts him, calling Miles the false one. Miles retaliates to the name-calling and reminds Salim that he is a clone and a knockoff. Salim then starts a soliloquy where he claims to have truly harnessed the spider's powers to their maximum potential, and unlike Miles, he is not afraid to use them. Salim and Miles engage in a brutal fight, while the rebels find the mobile command generator that is powering Salim's aircrafts. Salim has two sharp red blades in his hand, which he uses to try and cut Miles, but Miles is a fast spider and quick to maneuver the strikes. Salim feels a rage build up in him because Miles took away his barrier and eternal youth, Uncle Aaron and Peter Parker. Salim turns his anger into his power and thrashes Miles, beating him almost to a pulp. Salim drags Miles to the terrace of a building and threatens to visit and ruin his reality by killing his family all over again. As Salim prepares to stab Miles, the Prowler comes to his rescue. Both Miles and Uncle Aaron launch themselves at Salim, trying to bring him down, but Salim is too quick for them. Finally, after a series of planned moves, Miles and the Prowler send some hard-hitting kicks in Salim's direction. Salim is on the ground, but he is not someone who will accept defeat easily. He clicks a button on his suit, which makes his entire suit come alive with pulsing streaks of bright red light. Salim then tells Miles and Uncle Aaron that his uniform is laced with an ultra-concentrated antimatter-based explosive, and that it would take 15 seconds for his suit to reach the right temperature, which would blow up the entire building. Clearly, Salim was ready to die if it meant taking down Miles and the Prowler with him. As the clock ticks and Miles and Uncle Aaron are left stunned to act, we see General Genki take the lead. Genki comes flying to the top with the help of his jetpack and, in one swift motion, picks up Salim. He flies away from the building towards the sky before Salim can react, and then we see a bright burst of light filling the entire sky. And that, as we know it, was the end of Salim, though it would not be possible without Genki's noble sacrifice. The rebels brought down the Salim's imperial soldiers once their emperor died and took charge of the city with Billy in command. So, it seems that Salim can be defeated, but not by Miles alone. Although Miles did bring Salim down in the Clone Saga, he wasn't willing to kill him. Instead, he wanted to help Salim find a way to survive. Salim, however, was too egoistic to see that and wanted to remain the most powerful one, for he honestly believed that he was perfect. But when Salim managed to find a way to survive in an alternate reality, we saw him grow into a powerful being, honing his abilities while harnessing the powers of Peter Parker and the Prowler for his benefit. So, if he was so almighty, why did he power his suit up with an explosive that could kill him? We circle back to the fact that Salim has a colossal ego, and that's probably the reason that he was ready and willing to annihilate himself instead of having to accept defeat and live an imprisoned life. What makes the evil version of Miles Morales so unique? Unlike Miles, Salim was not bitten by a spider. Instead, his spider abilities, similar to those of Miles, were given to Salim when the Assessor bred him as a baby. Since Salim had these powers at birth, he was able to sharpen them growing up, especially with the Assessor helping him harness them to their full potential. We also know that Salim was trained in hand-to-hand combat from the age of 6, but he can also wield knives just as easily. Like Miles, Salim was quick and agile and had some amazing strength. He also had extensive stamina to fight, which is one of the reasons why he never gave up easily. He can even climb walls using his sticky fingers and toes. Salim can shoot webs and direct bioelectric sting-like charges to stop his enemies. Additionally, he also has spider sense. We see this when Miles tries to camouflage himself and sneak up on Salim at the Brooklyn Bridge, but Salim can easily detect him. But we aren't entirely sure if he can conceal himself to the point of invisibility like Miles. He probably can since he has Miles's powers, but we will leave that for you to discuss in the comments. But Salim's most significant power is his superior intelligence. He built on the Assessor's biological studies and realized Peter Parker's blood could keep him youthful. He could also power up a dimensional barrier using just the Prowler as a key. And, of course, you cannot escape the fact that he built an entire empire for himself. With all these powers, what makes Salim stand out the most is his sheer disposition to use his powers to their full degree. As to why he chooses them for evil is again debatable. The Miles Morales version of Spider-Man has much to offer, especially with him moving across realities, and the fact that the Assessor won't give up cloning him. Here is a fun fact before we go. In case you guys didn't realize it, Salim's name is actually Miles spelled in reverse. Let us know in the comments below what you think of this evil Miles Morales, and if you would like to see him return to the Marvel Multiverse.